everybody. Welcome one, welcome all. This is Cindy Allen, your pal and friend at Interior Design, and welcome to another episode of DesignBiz. So great to see all of you. I see people are starting to come on and join. How are you all? Say hi from wherever you are. I love to see all the countries that are represented. Hello. People are saying hello. Hi, Foster. Hello to you. Hey, everybody. We have a great show today. I'm very excited. We're going to be, hi Lee Mandel's there. Hi Lee, how are you? We're going over, so I'm over here outside of New York right now. Somebody from Mexico City just joined. Hello, how are you? But we're going to head over to the West Coast it's called McClean Design, and it's Paul McClean, and I'm very excited. I don't know if he's here yet. Hang on, let me just check. Hello from Colombia. Hola, ¿qué tal? No, he's not here yet. All right, we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait for Paul. Greetings from the UK. How are you? And from India. I love when this starts happening and we see people from all over the world. I'm from Kansas. Oh my God, how are you? From Berlin. Hello from Vintage, what does it say? Industry Design. Hello from Indonesia, from Georgia. So it's a great group from all over the world. Hello from Malaysia. I'm still waiting for Paul McClean. He's going to be coming on shortly. Come on, Paul, find me. Okay, we're waiting for him. So in any case, he does a lot of big architecture. So you're going to see big architecture and also very, very sustainable. And so we're going to hear about this indoor outdoor living, and I'm very excited. Oh, I think he's here. Oh yeah, Paul is coming on from the Czech Republic and India, Istanbul. You're all saying hi. We love you. We love design. Oh, there's Paul. How are you, Paul?
Good morning. How you doing?
Oh, it's great. It's great to see you. I love
Great to see you too.
I love seeing the ceiling and the ductwork and all of that. It looks fantastic.
That's like right over my head, right?
I know. Paul, so are you in LA right now, or where are you?
Yeah, we're in Orange County, just south of LA, and we've been back in the office now a couple of months since we came back from COVID, I guess.
Yeah. How's it going for you?
Good. It's nice being back. It's much more collaborative, easier to get things done.
I know.
Fortunate to be able to do something we could do from home during the last year, but it's just great to be back.
And is everybody working full time, or is you doing a part-time home office? How's it working?
We're pretty much at the moment all back full time, but we're sort of moving offices too in the next couple of weeks, so it's all over the place right now.
Yeah.
We'll get that
I
sooner or later.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the thing we're all gonna
figure it out.
Right, exactly. Isn't it crazy though? Because who would have thought we'd be able to do what we were able to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, if it had happened 5 years ago or 10 years ago, I don't know what we would have managed.
Oh, everything would have shut down. It would have been such a disaster. So thank God for technology. I mean, the thing that, I get to meet you because of technology, right? Which is fantastic, right?
No, it's much better. And I think we're finding that maybe we don't need to do quite as many trips as we thought before. Yeah. We're able to do a little bit more. People are more willing to accept this means of communication instead of just getting on a plane. Though the last couple of days we were in Denver for a project, and nothing still beats that. Sitting at a table with the client in together, the collaboration we did, it was just fantastic. Very, very exciting.
I know. Someone's saying, how much they love your designs. Which
thank you.
We're going to show some. So
brilliant.
Hang on, we're going to show some. What? I used to always have this. I mean, I have to travel too, but not to the extent that you all do. And I would always have such empathy to hear of, designers traveling to China for a day and, coming back. It's crazy. Although a good friend of mine in the hospitality industry has gone to Hawaii since for the weekend, because of a project. So, it's like you said, there's nothing like being right there. But I think even from a sustainability standpoint, it just doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're finding, for example, we're doing a project in Thailand and in Bangkok, and they really wanted us to go twice a year, which is a tremendous strain. I mean, it's so far. It takes you a day and a half to get there, and you're on I don't know what time of day we're in when we're there, but the
Right.
jet lag is intense.
Terrible.
But
Yeah.
now we've kind of figured out, well, maybe once a year is plenty, and that really helps, and it helps us too. But it's still fantastic to have that opportunity to work in different places and to go
Yeah.
places. It
Yeah,
really,
for sure. For sure.
you
And
know,
you're an international guy. I love that you're actually from Ireland.
indeed.
I've had so many friends on that from Ireland. It's kind of interesting. And then, but you've been all around the world and then finally settled in LA. How did you get your business started?
Well, I came to LA because I've always been a fan. For me, it's residential architecture. That's what I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And there's no better place on the planet to
Right.
do than Southern California. So
Uh-huh.
I came here with the hope of, first of all, getting to see some of these amazing houses that I've read about and studied. And then was fortunate enough to get a job with an architect in Laguna Beach who did residential design. And I was there for about 4 years. And I had a really great story. A lady approached me. She had this site. She had these plans for a very traditional house, and she tried to describe to me what she wanted for a project. It was nothing like the plans.
Right.
And
Uh-huh.
I told her, I said, I really don't think you should build this house because you'll be really unhappy. And I thought that was the end of it. And then it was actually on New Year's Day in 2000. So right on New Year's Day, she called me up and said, it's a new millennium. I want to start over. I want you to design me a contemporary house.
Wow.
And that's how we started. And
I love that.
I quit the day job a few months later and haven't looked back since.
Wow. Somebody from Brazil just said how much they love your design. So I keep seeing this, which is really, really lovely. So thank you all for joining and
I
supporting
so
Paul.
appreciate all those comments. It's just really,
I
really
know. Isn't
nice.
that
And
beautiful?
it's great that you
beautiful.
can connect with people that way around the world. It's
I
just
know.
like,
And
they're
she's from
great at that.
Brazil. Yes, super, super, super cute. So, okay, so that house, so you built that house and good client, things worked out well. You're still talking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She actually became the contractor on that project. And
Ah,
so for me and her together, we were both on this huge learning experience, and we came out of it fast friends. So
I love
it
that.
went well. But our business is super personal with people.
Right.
We only do really residential design, and so we tend to make connections with people, and that's one of the things I like about it the most is just the variety of people that we meet and the variety of walks of life they come from, and kind of forces us to be creative and to
Yeah.
compromise as well.
And as you said, you sort of were like as a young architect, as you're growing your business, like you were kind of fantasizing you saw yourself in LA and those houses that with the magnificent scaled houses with the gorgeous views, like, and you're doing it.
Yeah, I never really thought I would, but
Uh-huh.
I'm still waiting for someone to take away the keys.
And so did it grow one kind of house at a
One to the
time?
next. Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate that when I started out, I was in Laguna Beach in California, and there's a local review committee there, so I had to do public speaking, and I'd have to present the projects and argue to get them approved, and that gets you quite a lot of exposure to people.
Yes.
So we started there and kind of built up a practice in the first 10 years, which was basically in Orange County doing coastal work, coastal commission, houses along the ocean. And then somewhere around the time of the Great Recession, we'd been working on a house in Los Angeles in the Bird Streets. And the person unfortunately had to sell it because everyone was in kind of strange financial constraints
Uh-huh.
back then. But it did really well at the time. And that just kind of brought us to the attention of a lot of people. And for a few years, we did some development houses, which was, for me, counterintuitive in the middle of a recession to be working on development houses. But it
Wow.
turned out to be the right move on behalf of the developers, because when the recession was over, they had product to sell and nobody else did. So those houses did really well. And that just got our name out there, got people to take notice of us. And the next 10 years is really focused on greater Los Angeles. And as we got into maybe 16, 17, and just by natural kind of growth, we started reaching out, and people from other places started approaching us. And I think Instagram has helped a lot. I think that
What helped a lot? What helped a lot?
Instagram.
Oh, Instagram helps a lot.
We've got a pretty big Instagram
Uh-huh.
following, and you know, I think we've had 2 or 3 projects that have directly come from Instagram, large projects around the world that people just been following us and then reached out. So it's interesting now that even though we're a small firm, we're now working like across America and to a certain extent across the globe, and that's just fascinating to me. I never really imagined. I thought you'd have to have like 300 employees to do that, right? You know,
Yeah, and
but
how many employees do you have?
we're like 12 people, so we're just a little firm. But we do,
Uh-huh.
we just do houses. We do probably about 10 houses a year on average. So we're very busy.
That's wonderful. Somebody was saying how much they love your work, and someone said that they want to work for Interior Design Magazine. So there you go.
There
So
you go. We're all doing.
so it's all good. I'm going to pull up. So just so you know, you'll have to help me navigate. I
Okay,
try. Instagram
brilliant.
just mixes all the pictures up. So I try to like, and you sent me a lot of pictures, but let's start with the Bel Air House because
Okay.
I see it here. Hang on a second. I see it here.
Oh
And
yeah,
why don't you tell us about the project? And
that was
I'll show pictures as you go.
that was a great project. I mean, we really enjoyed working with this client on this. It's a large home. It's almost 30,000 square feet.
30,000 square feet.
30,000
Oh my
square
God.
feet. Yeah, and but it's got this amazing view. And the thing about Bel Air, for people who don't know about it, is obviously a very Tony part of Los Angeles, but it is really kind of like the garden area. That everyone has larger lots. There's lots of lush landscaping.
Yeah.
It's really like if you ever had the money and wanted to live in LA, that would be the place to live, I think. And
Uh-huh.
has these beautiful views of the city and the skyline, but they're like the foreground is all greenery, so
Mm.
and beautiful trees. So it's right up against the street. So one of the most important things for us was making an entry, which you can kind of see to the left of the picture. So we have this
Uh-huh.
really long, 200-foot long water wall, and water is like, I don't know, because I'm Irish or you know where I grew up, it rained a lot, but water is really important to me.
Me
Uh,
too. Me too. I'm a
yeah,
water girl. I'm
yeah,
Aries, and I'm such a water girl. Yeah.
yeah, and I think especially when you live in a dry climate, it almost becomes more important, I think.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like the basis of life. So we use this as that water feature, that entry that I love
Beautiful.
this so much. And what it does is it creates this whole different feeling. There's moisture coming off the waterfall as you approach the house. It's got this beautiful noise, and as you come to the end of this, you turn around, you see the view, you see the pool, and it's just a really welcoming experience, I think.
It's beautiful. There's another view of it, and you can kind of see the stairs as you're
Yeah,
like heading into the
there
house.
at the staircase. So, I mean, I think a lot of these homes, you know, these large homes, it's really important, obviously, not to get in the way of the view. That's like the number one thing. People
Right.
buy lots because they want to see the view. And we do a lot of spatial editing. You know, there's often things that you don't want to see: neighboring homes, power poles, streets, noise from streets. So we
True.
work very hard to try and minimize those things, like use landscaping or parts of the building, or use the water to screen noise and so on, and trying to keep things open and light and informal. So even though this is a very large, very grand house, I think it hopefully feels easy to live in, and it's all about indoor outdoor living. Like everything opens up as much as possible to the
Yeah.
view, you know.
Yeah. That would be my question on something so grand. That how do you make it, feel, cozy is not the right word because you don't want that, but like, how do you make it feel like it's a home? Which these images do you do understand it? Like you do see that you have these great big spaces, but that sort of indoor outdoor feeling makes it feel more casual and more
Yeah.
welcoming. But it is tricky, right? 30,000 square feet.
It is, but I think again, we don't do, I would say, ornamental homes or
Right.
marble homes. And we try and focus on connecting people to outdoors. So it's kind of a sense of shelter
Hmm.
versus, you
Right.
know, to give a grand design idea. And I often think a really good house, it should be beautiful, obviously, but it doesn't want to get in your way of your life. You know, it doesn't want to be constantly in the way. I mean, it should be a background to your life, a beautiful place to live that makes you feel calm. And a lot of feeling calm is connecting to natures and outdoors, I think. And, you know, we have such busy lives, all of us, and this wonderful technology that's helping us today cannot be always wonderful. And it's
Right.
be able to be in a spot where you're away from that and you have that sense of calm and peace. And so we concentrate on that even at a larger scale. I think those things, whether you're doing a house that's 500 square feet or 500,000 square feet, you still want to have those things in your mind. How do you connect to nature, see the beauty around you, and give people a sense of calm?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely see that. I mean, I appreciate the notes that you're giving everybody, because I think it is really important to like bring it down to the human level,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And as you said, I also love that you were saying like you're trying to shield your client from other neighbors and keep it as an oasis.
Right. I mean, I think that lives are so busy today that that's so important, and people often forget, sometimes, especially architects, that these homes are for people, right? People
Right.
are doing this for. Without people, they don't exist. I mean, they're for people to live in. They're not objects only to be admired, and so I think that obviously we wanted to create something beautiful and that creates a sense of calm, but it needs to know its place. It's like, should be like a good butler, I guess, right?
Exactly.
Knows what
Exactly.
it needs to do.
And I'm curious, one of the things I think about like during COVID is that um, folks that have this kind of money aren't always necessarily even in their homes, and COVID made them be in their homes, whether it's this
Right.
home or another home. But that appreciation for what you as architects and designers have actually done in their homes, and then how they were like forced to live in them. Right?
Right. Well, it's a really good question, because we've noticed, especially this year, as we work on new projects, how deeper clients are diving into it. And
Mm-hmm.
it used to be like, I need a home office or I need a
Right.
gym. It was just like an afterthought. Oh yeah, I don't mind where it goes, just find a spot for it. But now
Right.
every detail of the house, we're diving into much deeper and much more critically, which is super positive. And I think that there's definitely a sense of ownership, more so, to the design from clients, and it's making the process more collaborative and more interesting and more satisfying and a bit longer.
Yeah, yeah, and they're realizing what they really want, because right before
Right.
they were almost checking off a box of what they're supposed to have, and
Couldn't
then the
say.
things that and now they're like, oh,
Yeah.
right,
Oh, it's like, what is it? Like the home office is a perfect example. It
right,
used to be just a room. It could be upstairs somewhere in a corner. It didn't really matter. But now,
right,
like, I might have people come to the house, and do I want them to see the house, or do I just want them to be here? And how do they enter? And what if I have an assistant? Or what if I'm working with my husband or wife or a significant other together in that room? Or what if the kids share it? It's like, how do we handle all those problems?
exactly,
What do I
exactly.
see when I look out the window? Because I'm not just here for 20 minutes writing emails in the morning. I may be here for 10 hours a day.
Exactly, exactly, and that's what I'm hearing just on the residential side. Also, designers who have really good relationship with their clients, that they're having to do some new design work in the house because now
Right.
they really have to live in it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But okay, so here's another, and I love, so sleek, so beautiful. What a beautiful like gesture, on Carla Lane. So where's this?
So this is in Truesdale, which is in Beverly Hills, and it's an interesting neighborhood. There's a lot of history there. Like Elvis used to live there, for example, and people get excited about those things.
Uh-huh.
But it's also limited to single story. So, but you are allowed to go down. So we've been doing some houses there, and we've had these opportunities to explore basements. And really, it becomes about, how do you get light to this lower level, and how do you create a sense of excitement there? And what I love about this particular house is, part of the idea or concept is, it's very discreet from the street and very
Yeah.
soft. But as you enter the house, it gets lighter and lighter till it's fully transparent at the rear, where the view is, and all the landscape that you can see in the hills around. And it incorporates one of our favorite things, which is a bridge. And we love to do.
Is that the bridge? Yeah.
That's the bridge, yeah.
Yeah.
love to do entries. You know, bridges are amazing. They really make you think about where you are, and you know that for me is very important. That when people are entering a home, that we create an environment that just encourages them to realize that they're going somewhere. You know, there's a sense of arrival, but also like that you're leaving the world behind you, and it's now time to think a different way. So we often use bridges or stepping stones over water, and just to make,
Here's the day shot. It's beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah.
just people slow down, you know, and maybe think about where they are a little bit and just maybe appreciate it. But as you see, as you get to the back side of the house to where the garden is, you know, everything's about glass and light and air, and just everything opens up. So it's a 4,000 square foot house up and another 4,000 down, but you know those rooms all connect to that outdoor space continuously, so it feels a lot larger than that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It is beautiful. And I do love that you said, because hang on, let me try to find it. Yeah, this is taking us down, right?
Right, exactly.
This is taking us down. And would you recognize that here? Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's
And
this great, right.
I like what you were saying, that just like taking people on a journey, because you do feel that in just looking at these images, like the walkway, the breezeway, walking through spaces, going in and out. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I love that. And I think that, you know, it creates an emotional attachment, you know, that is, it's more than a house. It's like there's a little sense of theater about it and a sense of arrival and, you know, expectation, what's going to happen next. And, you know.
Oh, yeah, you have theater. There's theater going on.
I try.
Yeah, you try. So during COVID, you stayed very busy then?
It
Or
was
reasonably?
interesting.
Yeah.
We were very busy, and actually for the first 6 months of COVID, it was like crickets, no
Yeah,
calls.
yeah, yeah.
But it's not really surprising, because I think when we all started this, we all thought it wasn't going to last very long, and then we didn't know if the world was ending, and you know, I think to make big financial decisions like building a home, it took a while for people to get around to that. And I think come October, suddenly people started calling, and we got very, very busy again. But it fortunately gave us a chance to get a little bit caught up on some of the work we were getting behind on. So, but it's definitely picked up since then, and we're very fortunate. And one thing that's been interesting for us is that most of our new projects are not in Southern California, so we're getting to experience new places, and that's always exciting, and you know, makes you think a bit more, and you have to work a little bit differently, and you know, figure out these places and how they work, and that to me is the challenge. And we've been
So that was that as you were saying, like through Instagram, that you were getting these
I think so, but also we worked with Rizzoli and brought a book out last year, and the book has done really well, and we're very excited about that. And but I think it's brought us to a bigger audience, and I think there's something, you know, I talked to our editor about it. There's something about the idea of homes in California, and you know, people kind of, there's a romantic part of that people like, and it's kind of appeal to a broader group of people than just architects and designers. And so getting us out there and helping us. So some of our new projects, for example, are in Denver and Florida and Vancouver, Canada, out in the Caribbean. So lots of exciting.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. So anyway, so there's lots of people watching right now. So just if you're out there, this is Paul McClean, and then the firm is McClean Design.
Right.
And I'm Cindy, the editor-in-chief of Interior Design at the Cindygram. You can find us, and we're talking about these beautiful homes, but really how to make them feel that indoor-outdoor space. You do talk about sustainability and nature being like a focus of the work. Look at this set. This setting is just to die for. Well, is this your house, Paul?
No, but a friend of mine. It's for a friend of mine that I've worked with for years. But this site is spectacular. It has the most jaw-dropping views of the entire LA basin. But one of the things I like the most about it is on the right-hand side, where you see the living spaces, they open to a garden on one side and the view and the pool on the other side. So you have this true transparency, and you know, you hardly ever need to turn on the air conditioning. The breeze just comes through, and there's this really beautiful, quiet green space on one side and spectacular view on the other side of the city. So my thing with designing this house is just trying not to get in the way of all these great, you know, opportunities there.
Yeah, look at the view. Are you in your business? Are you finding that you're actually helping some of your clients find the land?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. Mostly people come and they already have the
Yeah.
property, but we do often have some repeat clients, and we'd often be looking at land with them, for
Mhm.
example, at the same time. But this one was a no-brainer, obviously, and
Oh my God. And there's such a lightness
yeah.
to this project.
Yeah, and I think it's that transparency front to back and the amazing pool, which, really, we look at things like site. Sometimes you think something's a site, constraint, but here we use the edge of the property we could build to create this wonderful pool. And, there's actually some not so attractive roofs down below this, but by wrapping the pool around the property, it stops people from getting out there and actually seeing those roofs. So it's another form of spatial editing, I guess. That fire pit, though, is amazingly popular.
That's it's so beautiful.
We were
Yeah.
lucky enough to go to a wedding there just before COVID, and they had a band all the way around the edge of that fire pit. You could sit in the middle while they serenaded you. It was so much fun.
Wow. Not bad, huh? Nice
Not bad
life.
at all.
Nice life. I don't know. Is this, did I move? Wait, hang on. Oh, this is still the house. So is this,
Same house.
this the fire pit, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I would say if we ever had, when everyone came for the wedding, everyone had to have their photo in the fire pit. That was the spot to be.
Wow. Amazing. And for clients like this, when such a big house, is the project kind of never done, even though it gets done, there's still things you do with them and come in on check on the house?
Well, I always try and check back with the clients, but it is a long period. Usually
Right.
they're exhausted by the time we get them in. I mean, I would say on average it takes about 3 years to build one of these homes, and
Yeah.
somewhere between a year and a half to get them approved. So it's a long journey, and but I do think we're getting to that stage where our firm is old enough now that we're remodeling homes that we worked on, and what for me is satisfying is to see the homes kind of. It's almost like they get a new outfit or a new dress,
Right.
but they're still the same person underneath, and it's great to see that the spaces are holding up, and there's fashions and materialities. Some houses that were very kind of light and bright are now kind of softer and moodier, and but seeing that as they go through these iterations over the years that they still have validity is great.
Yeah, I it's sort of curious as to when when you go back to a house, because as designers and architects, we keep growing too, right? So
Right.
It's, one thing is what the client sees, but then also where you may want to take them next if you can, right?
Yeah, and that's something interesting. When we brought the book out, it's kind of it's a double-edged sword. You're excited to have it there, but then you're looking back. I'm kind of like, my favorite project is the next one, right?
Exactly.
So we're hoping we're learning as we go, and the new houses are better, and let's hope that keeps happening.
And things change also, just in terms of what we can do from a technology standpoint. Materials have changed so much, and being greener too. Even though these are big houses, clearly you want that too.
And we do advocate with our clients, strongly for that. And I think, there's you don't have to be, Birkenstock wearing approach to it, right? These houses can be very expensive to run. And so, everyone's worried about their pocketbook. So we tend to work at it that way. So we look at whole house energy management as part of the project, and try and encourage people to move in that direction, and to help them understand how living in the house is going to work. And then, of course, we try our best to use as many passive ways. I mean, technology is wonderful, but people, if you go into a church in Italy and it's on a hot summer's day and you're like, oh my God, it's so beautiful in here, it's so cool. That's like passive energy design that's been going on for centuries, right? So, putting the house in the right location, if you have a bigger lot, we get the option to move things around, like you're 90% there if you can just get the thing right. And then, overhangs to keep the sun out, optical windows for cross ventilation, just to cut down on the amount of energy you're using, kind of balances it out a little bit. We are, for example, doing a house now in Turks and Caicos that energy costs are so high there that it will be a net zero house just for that reason. We'll pull all our water from the ocean and convert it to drinking water, and all our power will come from solar energy. So even though it's got a good big carbon footprint as a house, it will go forward energy neutral. So I think you can do things that way. It's important to wherever we can, at every level.
That's amazing. All right, so tell us about, and I also like that you're in different places, you're able to kind of test, I hate to say it, but like test the boundaries of something that can be used again in another way, because that keeps us, like you said, getting carbon neutral. That's like a big deal.
Well, one of the things that's great about being based in California is it's a very progressive looking state in terms of energy. And I think the new energy code, like the intention is that all new projects will be net zero by 2030, which is only like 7 or 8 years away.
I was going to say, it goes quicker than we think. We think, oh, we have till then, but yeah.
So one thing we've been able to do is, because of what the state mandates that we do here, when we move to other areas where the environmental restrictions aren't as strong, we tend to bring those with us.
That's what I love.
Add that to the project. So, we're kind of exporting, a better energy approach to other states and other countries. And
thank you for that. All right. So tell us about, this is like a terrace house, right? The Sea Breeze Terrace.
Yeah, in Dana Point, which, looks like one of those places you don't really ever need air conditioning, because when you're that close to the Pacific Ocean, it's always cold. This is one of my favorite projects.
I love it.
And what was important about it was to try and get, if you're this close to the ocean, it actually is pretty cold here. The ocean in California, Pacific, is a cold climate. People don't really realize that. So creating these internal courtyards as places to be outdoors, as well as getting light into the basement, but places to be outdoors where you can get out of the wind, away from the ocean, was critical to our clients. And then just to have, one of the things I like about this the most is how much visibility and transparency there is between different parts of the house through the house. So on the right there, we have an office, but it borrows an ocean view through the living room, because the living room is transparent on both sides.
Is that's the living, right?
This is the basement.
Oh, that's in the basement.
Which is it shows you how we get light into basements.
Love that. I love that.
And if we can get light into basement from two sources, it really doesn't feel like a basement at all. So, this space can be people. It's funny, we started doing this because codes forced us to do it, but then now we have people saying, well, I really want one of those basements, and, with a water feature, fridge, and so on. This is the living room. That's the living room, So it's very much about access to that ocean, to the breezes, everything.
Just right there. I love that it's, when I was looking at the notes and it says the terrace house, I'm like, there are terraces on every house of yours, but this one really, really is the terrace house. Yeah.
And then, every room we try and get as much view as possible. I mean, that's why people want to be there, not to be surrounded by walls. We want them to be able to look out and feel nature around them.
Yeah, beautiful. I should mention that you use beautiful materials I'm seeing beautiful bathrooms. And, I just love these. I love these small areas with the luxe material and like this beautiful, simple line. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. Well, I think we owe a great debt of gratitude to the wonderful interior designers we often work with. So in this particular house, we were working with Michael Fullen, who's a Laguna Beach-based interior designer, and he really does get our sensibility and our style. And we're really lucky. We work with him a lot. We work with Jim Magny a lot. We work with Linda Murray a lot, and it's just a great collaboration. And we try and just step back a little bit from materiality early in the project and let the client and the designer kind of run with it to try and see how they respond to the architecture. So for me, it's like the whole process is like everyone has ideas, and we try and the whole thing is to get the best product, and everyone has a role to play, and we just try and keep it on track through that process, so the end result is something that we can all be happy and proud of.
Also good advice, just how important it is a good collaboration on many, many levels, right? There's the builder, there's the client, there's the interior designer. I always wonder, it may be because you're still a small practice, but you're building this home. You're building this, why don't you want to bring in the interior design practice under your roof too?
Oof. Well, that's a great question. Mainly because I really enjoyed the collaboration part of it. It's really important, and I really don't see these homes as expressions of my ego or someone else's ego. It's like everyone has to work as a team together, and we're really about team building, and I think the architecture then finds its way through that. But it's a very specific thing. I mean, personally, I don't have much patience for fabric, You know, even
It's not just fabric. Not just fabric.
materiality and stuff. There's so much detail in it, and
There's a lot of detail.
yeah,
There's a lot
and
of detail.
there's people who are really good at that, and they're experts at it.
I
And
agree.
we're
I
good
agree.
homes. I'm not really good at designing airports or, other things, but I think I'm okay at homes. And I think they're really brilliant at materiality. So why not, use that rather than try and, take it over yourself and maybe do a half-assed job.
No, it's great to hear that. There's this thing called control that most of us in the design business have, but I agree with you, especially in projects this big of a scale, that you need to have these kind of collaborations for success, or you won't have success.
Right. And I think control is it's a tricky thing because
Yeah.
I sometimes think we're sort of like the captain steering the ship, and you want to get as many ideas from everybody, and you never know where those ideas are going to come from, and they often take you in new directions. But I think you'll never develop if you don't stay open.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
so if you're just sitting in your own studio and you're trying to take control of everything and be, like, you don't know how, like, I'm an architect, I'm not a builder, so, I mean, I don't know how to build a house. I know, so I try and explain my intent to people versus telling them how to build it. Just like, this is what we're hoping to achieve. How do we get there? And then use their expertise to get there better than me trying to figure it all out on my own.
But by the way, I just want everyone to see, like, look at this, like, 3 layers. Wow. Right.
Yeah.
And you see it lit at night like a gorgeous lantern. You could be any place in the house and feel comfortable and happy. That's for sure.
Well, I think it's also, like I said earlier, these houses in the end are about people, and there's a certain element of, the theater in this, but just the visual of being able to connect to people and see what they're doing and see people and movement through the house is what makes them come alive. So it's always been so. I learned that many, many years ago, just looking at Richard Meyer's work, and even though everything he does is white, I think he is spatially like a genius.
Yes.
And, so I often look at his work.
Yeah.
To try and get ideas going and so on, and how he puts spaces together is spectacular.
I love that. Big shout out to him. So thank you for that. This one's beautiful. The Skylark. Where's this house?
This one's in West Hollywood, and what was interesting about this is we had a great client, and he had a house on the lot, but he'd spent a lot of money building this gorgeous swimming pool. He didn't want to lose the swimming pool when we knocked down this original house, and that became a constraint but also an opportunity, because where the swimming pool was and where the driveway was, there wasn't really much space left. So this house became unusual. We went down and we went up. There's that pool that was already, and like, this house is about 12,000 square feet, but it's like 4,000 up, 5,000 down, and only about 2,000 square feet on the main floor. So it's like an interesting house in section. And that's why there's so many bridges and floating elements to try, and it started with trying to get light into the middle of the house, and also trying to get parking, and sometimes these things that are constraints can become opportunities. So they drove this house. But one of the things I like most about this project is anytime, we show it around together, my client Jason usually takes over. And then towards the end of the call, at the end of the interview or the walkthrough, he always turns around to me and says, what did you do in this process? Because I designed this house, and I'm like, yeah, I just drafted something once in a while.
Oh, yeah. But, we all know those clients too.
Yeah,
I'm sure he was teasing.
He's teasing, but there was that great collaboration and sense of, that when you get your clients having that sense of ownership over it, and then explaining how the ideas happened and came together, that's really wonderful. It's so personal then to them, and it's more than just a house. It's something they're deeply embedded into. That I love that. That's what's the most satisfying thing, perhaps, in this whole process.
Yeah. You could say that it's really successful when the client totally takes over ownership.
Feels like it was their design from day one.
It was their idea. Yes.
And one of the things, because I said parking was so difficult, so this actually includes 2 car lifts that take the cars to the basement where the garage is, so that we could have more space on the ground floor for actually entertaining in the main rooms. Because
I want to show there. You can see the car.
Right, down, and then it goes down into that basement by that waterfall. There is where the garage is. So it's really one of my favorite houses, just because of the, and again, that idea of movement through the house and all these areas where you can see across, and transparency from one room to the other, and seeing people moving around is the things I really love about this project.
All right, so Paul, I have to ask you, what kind of house do you live in?
Well, we were fortunate enough to build our own house. So, and that again, for an architect, I mean, I wish every architect could design their house, because what an experience. It's a whole different thing when you're designing with other people's money, and then suddenly you have to write the checks yourself, So,
right, exactly.
but we live in the hills, and we have a beautiful lot where we have great views of nature, and that's what we wanted to take advantage of. And so I feel like every day I pinch myself and I wake up that I can look out and see all this beautiful greenery and cityscape, and it's kind of like a spine house, so every room looks out at nature, and we just love it. So we're thrilled.
We should have showed that house. Showed that house. But I know I've heard from so many pals who are like, oh boy, building your own house, and how hard that can be.
Yeah, it's and not getting divorced,
Exactly. And also, but you're testing things out too, right?
Yeah.
And really, if you think about it, like you said, the money's coming out of your pocket, and it's a completely different experience that way. But it gives you empathy for clients, even clients with a lot of money. They don't want to be wasteful.
It really does. And I think the other thing probably I learned the most from it, I mean, we always try and be super honest with people, but sometimes that means not getting projects at the beginning, because people have ideas and expectations that maybe they don't have the reality for. So I've had to, especially just as it turns out in the last month or so, I've had 3 come to Jesus talks with clients. I'm like, you do realize how much this is going to cost, and maybe it's double what you thought. And if this is the time to change tax, if you don't want to do that, but we don't hire all these consultants and go all the way down this road and have someone be disappointed. So I think you're so much better off to be direct, and it's kind of hard, but give people the hard bad news first. I mean, everyone wants to call at the beginning and talk about dreams and ideas, but kind of have to lock that down and talk about reality and cost, and it's not really cost of the architect or designers, it's really the cost of the whole construction process. If we can get that out of the way and get them in a good space there, then the process really goes well. And then everyone, because for me, for control, we talked about control, but the client being in control is super important. And write checks, they have to feel they want to do it for themselves. So if they want to spend more money on something beautiful, that's great, and we'll support them. But we don't want them to have these ugly surprises which have 6 figures or 7 figures attached to them, and have to justify that and have all that disappointment. So on being straightforward, so we try and be advocates for our clients that way, that we're in their corner.
Right, exactly. And clients, they're much more educated these days. And now since COVID too, what are they saying to you? Like, what do they want that they didn't before?
Before, I mean, wellness is huge right now. Not necessarily wellness completely in terms of, spas, but we do some of those at these larger homes. But, people I definitely don't want to go back to the gym. That's a huge thing. But wellness in a bigger sense of creating space. The outdoor space is phenomenally important to people. That I think, we all feel like how horrible it must be if you were, like, for example, if you're in New York and shut down, you couldn't go outside, you're in a small apartment with no exterior space. I mean, I think that may be something as a whole community we've learned, that how important even a small amount of outdoor space is for everybody. Totally. But that's one thing they're really focused on. And just the interaction of their families, how together, that there's been positives as well as the negatives with this, but people have got to be closer together. How are we going to live together? For me, it's very important to think about public versus private space versus living spaces, because what you don't want is that everyone just retreats to their bedroom because that's the only space they have that do something quiet. You need to design it in a way that there's maybe opportunities for people to do different things in a public setting. So that's a big thing that's been coming out. And then that whole home office work thing, that's huge too.
Somebody about ACS luxury wellness is key. Yes, wellness, because we, interior design, we cover all categories of design, and wellness will now be in every single, sort of the thoughtfulness behind that, and it'll mean different things for different kinds of projects. But yes,
it's interesting, like how often people say when they think wellness, they're not thinking necessarily steam baths and sauna,
right.
stuff, but they often are thinking about just a quiet Zen-like space where they can just get 10 minutes of peace and quiet away from everything else. And that's almost more important than the amenities around it.
Exactly. Or like how you design, having like air and light, and we say outdoor, but this indoor outdoor, that's all promoting wellness. So it's kind of interesting that the definition has, actually I have a very good friend, Clodagh. Do you know who Clodagh is? She's
yes.
Yeah, because she's Irish originally. Right. And so I kind of tease around with Clodagh. So Clodagh has an amazing interior designer who has been a big advocate for feng shui for her whole career, right? And I say to her now, I say, Clodagh, if they called it wellness back then,
she would have been so much more successful.
Right. I mean, and of course her, she has an amazing career and her business is exploding. But I'm like, think of that, as a pioneer, it's kind of funny.
It's interesting.
A friend of mine, a really good designer, said, who's always, he does a lot of big luxury bathrooms and has always loved using natural stone. And he said, it's the first time in my career that I've started, because the client is asking me maybe for not a natural stone because of cleanability. And, he said my own prejudice is against, because he loves natural stone. He says, there's a lot of interesting materials out there that he's being kind of forced to look at. That's interesting, Yeah,
I wonder if, we won't really know for maybe 20 years what the design impact is really from this pandemic, but one wonders if, we were doing a lot of homes where, unfilled travertine was very popular in some of our homes now, and now people are looking at going, well, all the dirt that goes in all those little holes, and I wonder if we'll get back to a more kind of clean, kind of simpler material palette that's lighter and brighter. It'll be interesting to see, but we won't know. Right? If we knew, we could do really well out of this, right? So
exactly.
We'll find out eventually, I guess.
Yeah. By the way, that gal, whoever that was from that, said they worked with Claude on a project. It's pretty funny. So thanks for your comments. Well, listen, Paul, you're really just so delighted that you are as lovely as I hoped you would be, because you're really so lovely. It's kind of crazy that we don't know each other, right?
I'm amazed after all these years, but thank
you for
time, and I really appreciate this, and thank you everyone for tuning in. It's really great to have this opportunity to talk to people.
Okay, we're starting to get some weird people on, but that's okay. That happens too. Okay, I'm going to take some pictures. Hang on, just smile. I'm going to take some pictures.
Am I supposed to look off to the side?
I can't see what I'm clicking, so that makes it so my eyes look up. Otherwise, I'm always looking down at you. Someone's saying thanks, interior design, great, as always, with an amazing Irish. That's very cute. Guys, thanks for all the love. He definitely was worthy of all your beautiful comments, and the work is terrific. And someone's asked for my lipstick shade. I don't know, Bobby Brown. But anyway, so thank you so much. And we have to meet in person sometime, whether West Coast or East Coast. But meanwhile, I'm sending you a big hug and say hi to your staff and take care. And thanks to everybody out there for tuning in. Fantastic. And
thanks a million. Okay.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.